Chapter 1272. After killing Su Ilian, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even look back. From the beginning to the end, she never regarded Su Ilian as her opponent. Her strength had always been very stable. After the experience in the Bloodland Abyss, her combat effectiveness had improved again. Cultivators of the same level would never be her opponent. Su Ilian's original strength was stronger than her, and it might take some effort. However, after using the Blood Chi field, Su Ilian's strength was suppressed to be weaker than Orange Realm Level 2. In this way, it would be easy for her to kill Su Ilian. In just a short moment, Su Ilian died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, which brought great shock to Fu Yiyu and the others. Bailey Hongzhuang's fighting speed was too amazing. In this short period of time, they had already lost a teammate. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw that Bailey Hongzhuang's fighting speed was so fast, everyone's faces couldn't help but show a smile of joy. Hongzhuang was really too powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the battlefield. Xiao He and Fu Yiyu were currently equal in strength, so there was no need to worry for the time being. Although it was difficult for Xiao Bai to deal with Lu Wendi and Wei Yuanqing, it should not be a problem for her to hold on for a while. In contrast, the pressure faced by Xia Jiqing and the others was undoubtedly a bit greater. After all, Xia Jiqing and the others were all Red Realm cultivators. Facing the same Red Realm cultivators, they still had room to play. However, there was still an Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator, which caused a lot of pressure on them. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the battlefield and had already made a decision. She had to first kill the Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator and then help Xiao Bai. When Bailey Hongzhuang came to the battle circle of Xia Jiqing and the others, the Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator immediately found that Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent was her. Her eyes flashed with a hint of panic. She originally planned to kill Xia Jiqing and the other Red Realm cultivators first. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be free. As a result, she was in danger. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flew like a ghost. Everyone only felt a white light passing by their eyes. When they saw it again, Bailey Hongzhuang was already standing in front of the Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator. The Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator wanted to avoid Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang was too fast, and he couldn't escape. Ding! Bailey Hongzhuang didn't waste any time, and the battle immediately broke out. At the same time, Xia Jiqing Bai Junyu, Dongfangyu, Gong Shaoqing and Bai Shi were attacking 2 Red Realm Level 8 and 1 Red Realm Level 7 cultivators. Although Dongfangyu and Gong Shaoqing suffered internal injuries, under the power of the blood ginseng fruit, their injuries undoubtedly recovered a lot. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu only felt that there was endless power in their bodies. Even if the other party was stronger than them, they were still brave and began to besiege without fear. The Orange Realm Level 1 cultivators were simply vulnerable in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. They were also killed in a face-to-face speed. In a short time, 2 cultivators of the Sky Dynasty had fallen, and both of them died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at this scene, Fu Yiyu and the others' faces became more and more ugly. Chapter 1273. Bailey Hongzhuang did not expect the effect of the blood aura to be so effective. The disparity between their strengths was reduced by the blood aura. On the contrary, their chances of winning were greatly increased. After killing another cultivator, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately went to Xiao Bai's side. Xiao Bai was facing 2 Orange Realm Rank 4 cultivators alone, so she was under a lot of pressure. As contracted beasts, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's Orange Realm Rank 5 cultivation levels were very high. However, as beasts, they had not mastered any martial skills. Therefore, they were undoubtedly at a disadvantage when fighting cultivators of the same level. Strangely enough, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation levels were Orange Realm Rank 5 when she first met them. Until now, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation levels were still Red Realm Rank 5. She wasn't the only one who didn't know the reason. Little Black and Little White also didn't know the reason. She was a little suspicious. Could it be that Little Black and Little White's cultivation was fixed? Or could it be that they had not found a way to level up? Bailey Hongzhuang stood in front of Lu Wendi. Lu Wendi's cultivation level was Orange Realm Rank 4. Under the suppression of the blood aura, His current cultivation level was on par with hers. In fact, he was slightly stronger than her. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, Lu Wendy's eyes flashed with viciousness. Bailey Hongzhuang, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. You're so ruthless. They had come to the small world as representatives of the Cosmos dynasty. In the past month, they had never suffered such a huge loss. But now, Bailey Hongzhuang had killed 2 of their teammates. It really made them hate her to the extreme. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. If it weren't for your evil intentions, this wouldn't have happened. Lu Wendy simply didn't care about what Bailey Hongzhuang said. Don't be complacent too early. Until the last moment, no one will know the final result. His cultivation level was 2 levels higher than Bailey Hongzhuang's. Even with the blood aura, he could still defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smirked. Her deep and charming eyes were filled with disdain. Try it then. Lu Wendy snorted coldly, and in an instant, his spirit power roared like a tiger. His figure retreated a dozen steps in a row, directly pulling away from Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were extremely strange. If he let Bailey Hongzhuang get close, it would be a disaster. Once he distanced himself from her, the situation would be different. Lu Wendy's hands kept moving, and he quietly formed a complicated seal. He wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang in one fell swoop. As Lu Wendy formed the hand seal, a powerful force silently appeared in the world. A heart-palpitating force spread out from Qiaowen. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, a huge axe floated in the air. At first glance, there was a terrifying sense of sharpness. It was shocking. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were also not slow. Her white hands were constantly moving, and the complicated movements were even more dazzling. In a short period of time, a huge green flame palm appeared once again. Feeling the rapidly rising temperature around him, Lu Wendy's expression changed a little. When he saw the sacred green flame palm from afar, he did not feel it so clearly. Chapter 1274. Bailey Hongzhuang obviously did not intend to waste too much time with Lu Wendy. In the next instant, Bailey Hongzhuang's hand seals suddenly changed. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's changing hand seals again, Lu Wendy's eyes flashed with a trace of sinister and grave light. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang was preparing to use the strengthened sacred green flame palm. Thinking of this, Lu Wendy's heart was indescribably gloomy. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were already exhausted after killing the heavenly spirit bear. Even if they had consumed the energy recovery pill, their yuan qi would not be able to recover to its original state immediately. Under such circumstances, it could be said that they had a 100% chance of winning against Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest consumed the blood ginseng fruit, not only did they not show any signs of insufficient yuan qi, on the contrary, their yuan qi was so abundant that it made people tremble with fear. This was a mistake that caused everlasting regret. They had never expected that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest would stake it all on one throw. This really made them drop their glasses. With such abundant energy, it was easy for Bailey Hongzhuang to use the sacred azure flame palm again. She didn't feel the slightest difficulty. The next moment, as Bailey Hongzhuang's hand seals suddenly condensed, the cyan palm in midair also suddenly shrank, and only the crackling of sparks could be heard, which made people's hearts jump. However, Lu Wendy's face did not show any signs of worry, because this move of his was also his trump card. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was not ordinary. Once they fought, he had to display his strongest strength, otherwise, the unlucky one would be himself. Lu Wendy was also very confident in his trump card. In the past, a cultivator with a higher cultivation base than him had also died under his trump card. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was even weaker than his. He believed that the person who would regret this time would be Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, the foundation of a medium-sized empire's cultivator was far from what a small-sized empire's cultivator could compare to. Onyx Giant Axe, Lu Wendy shouted coldly. A small-sized empire's cultivator actually dared to be so arrogant in front of them. He wanted to let the other party know how powerful they were. After hearing Lu Wendy's voice, Wei Yuanqing, Fu Yeyu and the rest who were not far away had a joyful smile appear on their faces. They had seen Lu Wendy use the onyx giant axe before, and its power was extremely powerful. Even with Bailey Hongzhuang's sacred azure flame palm, the final result was still unknown. In their opinion, Lu had a better chance of winning. Onyx flame palm. In the next moment, the two's to Hongzhi's attack. In the next moment, the two attacks collided in midair. Bang! The Hongzhuang's twos, of course. To beat Hongzhuang's a moment of moments. Smoke and dust rose, yellow sand splashed, and even the ground became shaky. Xia Jiqing and the others who were fighting not far away could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others after seeing such an earth-shattering collision, because the power of this collision was too terrifying. Suddenly, Gong Shaoqing and the others' faces changed. Not good, the ground is unstable. I'm afraid it's going to collapse. As Gong Shaoqing's voice fell, everyone's face suddenly changed. They immediately ignored the fight and flew away, avoiding the collapsing ground. In an instant, sand and stones flew and the ground trembled. Chapter 1275. The faces of Fu Yiyu and the others suddenly changed. None of them thought that the confrontation between Lu Wendy and Bailey Hongzhuang would have such a huge impact. One by one, the figures flew away at lightning speed. Only when they were some distance away did they stop and look at the cloud of dust behind them. Rumble. The situation was as everyone thought. The ground beside the cliff quickly turned into gravel and fell into the abyss. Even after falling, there was no echo, showing the horror of the abyss. At this moment, the figures of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy appeared in everyone's mind. After all, the two were in the center of the crack in the ground. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy were not beside them. At the thought of this, Xia Jiqing and the others couldn't help but feel nervous and worried. They immediately shouted, "Hongzhuang!" Boom! The yellow sand and smoke gradually dissipated, and the silhouettes of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy appeared in everyone's sight. However, after seeing this scene, everyone's eyes couldn't help but be filled with horror. They saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy were on the edge of the cliff. The two were in a stalemate. Obviously, they wanted to push each other down the abyss. Bailey Hongzhuang, go to hell! Lu Wendy grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes and kept pushing Bailey Hongzhuang. He also didn't think that the confrontation between the two of them would cause such a big change. The onyx giant axe that he had always been proud of couldn't defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. However, under this blow, Bailey Hongzhuang was also injured, and her injury was slightly more serious than his. As long as he pushed Bailey Hongzhuang down the cliff, then they could win this battle. Bailey Hongzhuang, this woman, was indeed a heaven-defying existence. Obviously, her cultivation was not as strong as theirs, but her existence determined the result of this battle. Hongzhuang, Master. After Xia Jiqing and the others knew Lu Wendy's intention, they immediately rushed over. No matter what, they absolutely could not allow such a thing to happen. At the same time, Fu Yiyu and the others were once again stunned by the three beasts' greetings. Originally, they only thought that Baishir was Bailey Hongzhuang's contracted beast, but at that moment, the three beasts had clearly addressed Bailey Hongzhuang as their master. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang had contracted three demonic beasts? When this thought surfaced, Fu Yiyu and the others felt that it was a little ridiculous. This was simply an impossible thing. However, they hadn't heard wrongly just now. For a moment, Fu Yiyu and the others felt that it was a little funny. How could there be so many strange things in this world? Moreover, it happened to the same woman. This was too strange. However, Fu Yiyu and the others' reaction was also very fast. As early as in the previous battle, they had understood how much impact Bailey Hongzhuang had on this battle. If Bailey Hongzhuang was still there, they might even have the possibility of being defeated. However, once Bailey Hongzhuang disappeared, the pressure of the blood chi field would naturally not exist. In this way, it was extremely easy for them to solve these cultivators. Therefore, Fu Yiyu and the others immediately blocked Xia Jiqing and the others who were ready to help. At this critical moment, they couldn't let Xia Jiqing and the others save Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 1276. Go away. Xia Jiqing looked at the guy in front of her angrily and rushed directly to Bailey Hongzhuang. If Hong Zhuang was pushed into the abyss by Lu Wendy, she didn't even dare to think about the result. Your opponent is me. The cultivator at the 8th level of the Red Realm stood in front of Xiajiqing. You want to save her? No way. The three beasts also rushed over. They couldn't let their master be hurt. At the same time, Fu Yiyu and Wei Yuanqing also stopped them. They had a certain understanding of Lu Wendy's strength. Lu Wendy's strength had always been very strong, and the strength of cultivators of the same level could not be compared with him. Not to mention that Bailey Hongzhuang was a woman, her cultivation was weaker than Lu Wendy. Therefore, if Lu Wendy wanted to push Bailey Hongzhuang down, there would be no accident. What they needed to do was to buy time for Lu Wendy. That way they would win this battle. Looking at the actions of the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty, everyone was furious. These guys were too despicable. Bailey Hongzhuang was in a deadlock with Lu Wendy, constantly pushing each other. Your strength can't be compared with mine, go to hell. Lu Wendy's eyes were filled with a trace of pride. He could already imagine that after this battle, he would be the hero of the Sky Dynasty team. Behind her was the abyss, and Bailey Hongzhuang could feel a chill coming from the abyss. The wind was whistling, her hair was swaying in the wind, and her body was shaking. If she was not careful, she would be buried in the abyss. However, in such a situation, Bailey Hongzhuang's dark eyes still did not have a trace of emotion. On the contrary, there was a terrible calmness. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands also tightly grasped Lu Wendy's clothes, and her delicate and beautiful face was filled with a trace of madness. Since we are going to die, let's die together. As soon as her voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang pulled Lu Wendy closer to the cliff. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's crazy actions, Lu Wendy was dumbfounded. He wanted to push Bailey Hongzhuang into the bottomless abyss, but he didn't want to be buried with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not give Lu Wendy the slightest chance to retreat. The yuan power in her body gushed out as she executed the jade body refinement technique. A sparkling and translucent jade color climbed up her arms. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang exerted force with both hands. With her right foot as the center, she spun her body and threw Lu Wendy, who was in front of her, down. Die! Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly, and the power in her body exploded to the extreme. Lu Wendy didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength to suddenly become so terrifying. It was completely beyond his expectations. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. His body fell off the cliff uncontrollably, and his face instantly turned pale. Once he fell, there would be no hope for him. At the last moment, Lu Wendy grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes, as if he was grabbing the last life-saving straw, and did not let go. In Lu Wendy's mirror lake, Xiajiqing and the others found that Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy's figures had disappeared from the cliff. Hongzhuang! Xiajiqing's eyes quickly turned red, and she screamed heartbreakingly. Chapter 1277. Master! Xiaohe, Xiaobai and Baisher were completely enraged at this moment. Their crazy attacks continued to attack Fu Yiyu and the others. This group of damn guys dared to let their master fall into the abyss. Fu Yiyu and the others were also stunned. According to their thinking, with Lu Wendy's strength, there was absolutely no problem pushing Bailey Hongzhuang down the cliff. None of them thought that Lu Wendy would die together with Bailey Hongzhuang. It seemed that the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang really could not be underestimated. Just one Bailey Hongzhuang, and their team had lost 3 cultivators. According to their thinking, this was simply an impossible thing, but it just happened. Although they felt pity for Lu Wendy, no matter what, Lu Wendy being able to solve Bailey Hongzhuang was a great merit for them. At the very least, they would be able to obtain the final victory in this competition. For a time, Xiajiqing's women looked at Fu Yiyu and the others with hatred. They could not wait to tear this group of guys into pieces. Feeling the gaze of Xiajiqing and the others, the expression of Fu Yiyu and the others also changed a bit. The appearance of the other party was really a bit scary. Did Hongzhuang really fall like this? Xiajiqing looked at the edge of the cliff unwillingly. She could not believe that Hongzhuang had fallen like this. The faces of Gong Shaoqing and the others were also ugly to the extreme. This was something that none of them were willing to accept. However, when they were picking the blood ginseng fruit, They also looked at the edge of the cliff. The bottom was full of clouds, and they could not see the bottom. Once a cultivator fell into it, there was almost no chance of survival. Fu Yiyu looked at Xia Jiqing and the others mockingly. She can't survive, you should give up. As soon as these words came out, Gong Xiaoqing looked at Fu Yiyu angrily. If it were not for this group of hateful guys, Hong Zhuang would not have fallen at all. All of you go to hell. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with blood-red ferocity. It had waited for so many years in the chaos ring before its master finally appeared. However, it had now lost its master because of these fellows. This was something that it could not accept at all. It had to kill these guys. Hearing this, Fu Yiyu sneered. Since your master is already dead, I'll send you all to accompany him in death. Wei Yuanqing and the others also revealed smiles on their faces. Although their team had suffered great losses today, their lives were not in danger. Without Bailey Hongzhuang, you bunch of trash can just wait to die. However, just as Fu Yiyu and the others were feeling complacent, a cold and familiar voice suddenly rang out. It's too early for you to be happy. With this cold voice falling, the originally pale faces of Xia Jiqing and the others instantly filled with a trace of vigor, and their eyes were full of expectation as they looked at the edge of the cliff. Then under everyone's gaze, a white and smooth arm appeared on the cliff. Then a white and otherworldly figure appeared before everyone once again. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure leapt up, standing firmly on the ground, patting the dust off her body. A delicate and elegant smile bloomed on that charming face, gorgeous and beautiful. Lu Wendy's strength had also exceeded her expectations. The power that erupted in the face of death was even more terrifying, causing her to spend a lot of effort to kick that guy off the cliff. Chapter 1278. When everyone saw the ethereal figure again, everyone had different expressions. Some were surprised and some were depressed. Bailey Hongzhuang's white dress was stained with a bit of dust, vaguely revealing a bit of embarrassment, but the confidence lingering on her pretty face did not show the slightest bit of embarrassment. On the contrary, there was a kind of charm that stood out from the masses. The three beasts, as well as Xia Jiqing and the others, had an indescribable excitement on their faces. This feeling of joy was no different from rising from hell to heaven. Hong Zhuang was always blessed with good fortune. This was such a pleasant surprise. Fu Yiyu and the others looked at Bailey Hongzhuang as if they had seen a ghost. This result was really unexpected. So to say, not only did Lu Wendy not push Bailey Hongzhuang down the cliff, but he fell down himself? How was this possible? Fu Yiyu and the others did not believe it in their hearts. With Lu Wendy's strength, this was simply impossible. However, the facts clearly appeared in front of them, and the irrefutable facts made them unable to refute. This is really a ghost. Wei Yuanqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. He could not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang did this. According to the situation just now, Bailey Hongzhuang clearly fell down. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's luck would be so good that she could climb up after falling down? At this moment, Fu Yiyu and the others all had a feeling of fear in their hearts. This Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have the protection of a deity, shrouding their hearts in a layer of despair. Xia Jiqing looked at Wei Yuanqing and the others proudly. Now, you all just wait for your death. As soon as these words came out, Fu Yiyu and the others' faces changed. After the fall of three cultivators, their advantage was no longer obvious. On the contrary, the power shown by Bailey Hongzhuang made them feel that it was difficult to continue. One after another, their companions died at the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, which was a great blow to their morale. Fu Yiyu, Wei Yuanqing, and the others looked at each other. In this short moment, they had already thought of a plan. The next moment, the practitioners of the Cosmos dynasty fled in all directions without hesitation. They no longer had the confidence to continue fighting. Running away was the best option. Seeing the cultivators of the Sky dynasty choose to run away after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Xiaoqing, and the others were secretly speechless. Hong Zhuang had scared the hell out of them. Xiao Bai and Xiao Hei were the first to rush up to chase after them after they reacted. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing, and the others were not slow either. They quickly chased after them. If you don't remove the roots when cutting weeds, They'll grow again when the spring breeze blows. Today, the enmity between them and the Sky Dynasty had been thoroughly established, and it would be best to settle it once and for all. After experiencing this, Xia Jiqing had already hated the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty to the bone. She just wanted to kill them. Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu did not chase after them. Their injuries had not healed yet. If it was a competition of speed, they were not the opponents of the other party. What's more, it was enough to have Xia Jiqing and the others chasing after them. After a long while, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to their original place. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu's faces were full of excitement, and they were holding a Qingquan bag in their hands. Chapter 1279. Xia Jiqing's pretty face was full of excitement as she and Bai Junyu chased after the 7th level Red Realm cultivator. Originally, with their strength, it was not easy to deal with a cultivator at the 7th level of the Red Realm. However, in the situation of fleeing, the cultivator at the 7th level of the Red Realm was not able to exert his full strength and finally died at the hands of her and Bai Junyu. Bailey Hongzhuang was also holding a Qingquan bag in her hand. The other party's morale had already been defeated by them, so it was not difficult to kill them. Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Baishar also came back, but the three beasts were obviously not so happy. Damn it, Fu Yi ran away. Xiao He's eyes were full of anger. Fu Yiyu is too despicable. He used his teammates as a shield and ran away by himself. Xiao Bai and Baishar did not speak, but from their expressions, it could be seen that they were depressed. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang quickly understood the situation at the time. She had a feeling that Fu Yiyu was the smartest person among the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty. However, this guy even used his teammates. It could be seen that he was not a good person. Forget it, he ran away. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a faint smile as she comforted the three beasts. In any case, their harvest today was very rich. Yes, he can't do anything by himself. Maybe he will die in the hands of the monsters or other cultivators before he gets out of the forest. Xia Jiqing said with a smile. In the small world, the cultivators who were alone were always at a disadvantage, and if they were not careful, they would lose their lives. Listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, the faces of the three beasts looked better. It's getting late, let's continue. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly after looking at the situation of everyone. It took a lot of time to deal with the heavenly spirit bear before, and then it took even more time to meet the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty. They needed to rush to the city before nightfall. If they didn't hurry, it would be too late. Now they had consumed a lot of energy, and their bodies were covered with wounds of various sizes. They had to return to the city to rest as soon as possible. Everyone nodded. Fighting 2 battles in a row was really tiring. Previously, when they were fighting, their mental strength was tense, so they did not think about it. Now that they had relaxed a little, they felt an indescribable sense of exhaustion. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing felt it the most. Their internal injuries were not something that could be healed in a short period of time, but they had already recovered a lot. However, they had to find a safe place to absorb the abundant energy in their bodies as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would affect them greatly in the long run. Everyone resumed their journey. The three beasts circled around Bailey Hongzhuang, their big, bright eyes sparkling with concern. Master, how are your injuries? Bailey Hongzhuang was also injured in the fight with Lu Wendy. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand slightly. The injury is not very serious. It's not a big deal. As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a healing pill from her Qingquan bag and swallowed it. She did not expect Lu Wendy's martial arts to be so powerful, beyond her expectations. Chapter 1280. Xia Jiqing and the others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern. Now Bailey Hongzhuang was the backbone of their team. Hongzhuang, is your injury really okay? Xia Jiqing was worried. In the previous collision of martial arts, even if they were spectators, they could clearly feel the horror of the energy. What's more, Hongzhuang was in the center of the energy storm. Coupled with the fact that she almost fell off the cliff, they could faintly see Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face. Needless to say, they could also know that Hongzhuang must be injured. Looking at the concern on everyone's faces, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart warmed, and the smile on her lips softened. Don't worry, this injury will not be a problem. When everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent and confident appearance, they were relieved. Hongzhuang herself was a genius doctor. Since Hongzhuang said it was okay, then the injury should not be too serious. However, they had to rest for a while in the next city. Healing was one thing, and absorbing the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was another. Baishir walked beside Bailey Hongzhuang, and the aura of the Beast King filled the air. On ordinary days, he restrained his aura in order to let his master have a better experience and gain points. Now that his master was exhausted, in order to reach the city early, he released his aura. In this way, there would be no monsters attacking them. As long as they did not encounter cultivators from other dynasties, they did not need to worry along the way. Because of the injury, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other's speed was a bit slower than before. Fortunately, there were no monsters along the way, so their speed was not slow. In the distance, Fu Yi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, and the hatred in his eyes burned his whole body. He never thought that such a thing would happen to him. As the leader of the medium-sized dynasties, the Sky Dynasty had always believed that they could get good results in the assessment. Ordinary teams were not their opponents at all, unless they met a large dynasty team. Fortunately, they hadn't encountered any teams from large empires in the past month or so. However, who would have thought that they would fail like this? Furthermore, they were defeated by a team from a small empire? This was something that should have been impossible, but it had happened. All his previous confidence seemed to have turned into a joke. Before today, they were the high-spirited team of the Cosmos Empire. However, in just one battle, all of his teammates had fallen. He was the only one left alive. He could imagine what would happen to him in the following days in this small world. Fu Yiyu's eyes were fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, he wouldn't have ended up in such a state. No matter what, he had to get his revenge. Fu Yiyu clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. It could be seen how much strength he had used. Revenge was a dish best served cold. He would definitely find a chance to take revenge. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were obviously heading to the city in front, he could not be discovered. He could only go somewhere else. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to move forward, not noticing that there was a hateful gaze staring at them from afar. In fact, when Fu Yiyu had escaped, Bailey Hongzhuang had already mentally prepared herself. Chapter 1281. Night slowly fell, and after Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' non-stop journey, they finally successfully arrived at the city. Fortunately, there were no surprises or dangers along the way. After arriving at the city, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They had experienced a lot of twists and turns today. If they were to do it again, they would really be exhausted. Her delicate jade-like face was filled with a charming smile. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was light and gentle. Everyone, find a room to rest first. Absorb the energy of the blood ginseng fruit as soon as possible and improve your strength. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit was very strong. If it were not for the medicinal pills, they were likely to directly explode and die. However, even with the medicinal pills, this situation could not be suppressed for long. They must absorb it as soon as possible. This was a good opportunity for them to improve their strength. Gong Shaoqing and the others nodded, their faces quietly filled with a trace of seriousness and excitement. For the blood ginseng fruit, they had walked through the gates of hell today. Now that they were back, they naturally had to work hard to improve their strength. We will work hard. Everyone chuckled. Hongzhuang, your injury has to recover as soon as possible, Xia Jiqing said with concern. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Don't worry, it will be fine in a few days. Immediately afterward, everyone walked into the house. In the next few days, they would be in retreat in the house. When the cultivators of Xianming City saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their eyes lit up. This was because the appearance of the cultivators of this dynasty was extremely outstanding. The appearance of cultivators had always been better than ordinary cultivators, but the cultivators of this team were really natural beauties, which was very rare. From the previous situation of this group of cultivators, it was obvious that they had gone through a battle before. It could be seen from their dusty appearance. Once a cultivator was injured, their strength would be greatly reduced. If they wanted to make a move, this was an excellent opportunity. For a time, many cultivators' hearts were alive. They were just worried that other cultivators would have the same idea, so they had not made a move. Many cultivators only wanted to wait a little longer. If there was still no movement, they might be able to make a move. The first thing Bailey Hongzhuang did after returning to her room was to check her injuries. Apart from her internal injuries, she also had some external injuries. The internal injuries could only be slowly nursed back to health, but the external injuries needed to be treated with medicine. After applying the medicine, Bailey Hongzhuang placed the food in front of the three beasts and said, "I'll go into seclusion first." The three beasts nodded. Chapter 1282. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other when they saw how hardworking White Lion was. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. At least White Lion knew how to increase his powers. However, the two of them had not slacked off in their cultivation during this period of time. However, for some unknown reason, their cultivation had remained stagnant. They could not help but feel discouraged. "Xiao Bai, why do you think we can't increase our powers?" Xiao He had a bitter look on her face. She had always wanted to be her master's right-hand man and protect her. However, they could not increase their powers now, although they could still be of some help for now. Once master's powers increase again, they would be of no use. When she thought of this, she could not accept it at all. Xiao Bai had a bitter look on her face as well. "I don't know either. This is just too strange." This feeling was as if some kind of seal had sealed away their powers. It was just too strange. "We can't go on like this. We have to think of a way to increase our powers." Xiao Bai stomped her feet angrily. If their powers could increase, Master would not have been injured today. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other. The two beasts then looked helpless. During this period of time, they had tried many methods but to no avail. It was really depressing. White Lion munched on a few demon crystals. Suddenly, a familiar feeling spread from within his body. White Lion looked excitedly at Xiao He and Xiao Bai. "I'm about to begin my breakthrough. Once Master has left her closed-door cultivation, please inform her for me." Hearing White Lion's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with excitement. Then, the two beasts saw White Lion enter closed-door cultivation. Although it was said to be closed-door cultivation, it was actually just sleeping. After a brief moment of excitement, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but sigh. White Lion had broken through again, but their cultivation levels had remained stagnant. Back then, how great was the gap between their powers and White Lion's? However, a year had passed and White Lion's powers were constantly closing in on theirs. After a period of time, White Lion's strength would surpass theirs. This was too worrying. When they thought of this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai stopped talking and began to cultivate together. Regardless of the reason why their strength had stagnated, they absolutely could not give up on cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was in seclusion, had no idea what Xiao He and Xiao Bai were thinking. At this moment, she was meticulously circulating the Demon Summoning Sutra. Along with the circulation of the cultivation technique, the abundant energy in her body also circulated in circles, constantly refining the energy, refining the impurities, and turning them into a part of her body. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit was gradually being refined, and the energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's dantian was also constantly growing. Silence was restored in the room. Only the breathing of Bailey Hongzhuang and the three demonic beasts could be heard. At the same time, Xia Jiqing and the others in the 4 rooms near Bailey Hongzhuang were also circulating the cultivation technique, absorbing the energy of the blood ginseng fruit. As they circulated the cultivation technique, they discovered how rich the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was. A steady stream of energy was injected into their dantian, and they only felt that their strength was rapidly and steadily increasing. This kind of feeling was really too pleasantly surprised. Before this, they had never felt such a rapid improvement. Chapter 1283. The cultivators in Xianming City waited for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to make a move after seeing them enter the house. They were all cultivators who had experienced many battles. Therefore, Just by looking at the embarrassing appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they could see that they were fighting with cultivators and not wicked beasts. Since Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could come back alive, it meant that they had killed the opponent's team. In this way, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others should have a lot of treasures and points in their Qingquan bags. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were now exhausted and injured. If they made a move in this situation, they would definitely win. Everyone's eyes fell on the closed door of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others from time to time, only thinking about whether they should make a move. However, just as some of the cultivators made up their minds to make a move, suddenly, the primary energy in the air seemed to be attracted to the closed door. Seeing this scene, the cultivators in Xianming City could not help but be stunned for a moment. Someone was about to break through. Everyone looked at each other. They did not expect that a cultivator would break through under such circumstances. It was really good luck to break through after a big battle. After Bai Junyu used his cultivation method to absorb the energy of the blood ginseng fruit, he felt that his aura was constantly growing and soon reached the edge of a breakthrough. Boom! A sound exploded in Bai Junyu's mind, and he broke through the barrier of the breakthrough in an instant. Level 5 of the Red Realm. In a short time, Bai Junyu completed the breakthrough, which was impossible under normal circumstances. However, after the blood ginseng fruit helped him break through to level 5 of the Red Realm, there was still a huge amount of energy. He continued to use his cultivation method to enrich the primary energy in his dantian. This is the aura of breaking through to level 5 of the Red Realm. I didn't expect this person to break through so quickly. After feeling the energy, the cultivators in Xianming City had already judged the strength of the other party. Breaking through was a very normal thing for cultivators. However, the speed of this cultivator's breakthrough was a little surprising. A cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm was not enough to stop them from attacking. After a short consideration, they decided to continue. At this moment, there was another surge of energy, but this time the person who broke through was Xia Jiqing. Xia Jiqing's face was serious, her eyes were closed, and she was meticulously absorbing the energy in her body. Previously, under the terrifying and enormous medicinal strength of the blood ginseng fruit, she was already unable to withstand it. Now that she could finally absorb this energy in peace, she had to cherish every bit of this energy to increase her strength. Boom! There was also an explosion in her mind, and a smile appeared on Xia Jiqing's face. 5th level of the Red Realm. Another cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm appeared. At the same time, 2 cultivators had broken through to the 5th level of the Red Realm, which made the onlookers' expressions change. One cultivator breaking through could be said to be a coincidence, but 2 cultivators breaking through at the same time was a little strange. Many teams from small dynasties had already given up their plans. The 2 cultivators at the 5th level of the Red Realm were not weak. Since it wasn't a guaranteed win, they weren't willing to take the risk. Chapter 1284. However, what happened next completely stunned everyone. They looked at the 5 rooms in shock and did not know what to say. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing's internal injuries gradually recovered under the effect of the blood ginseng fruit, and the remaining energy was continuously injected into their dantian. Under the infusion of this surging and abundant energy, their strength was also rapidly improving. Boom! Gong Xiaoqing was the first to break through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. Since coming to the small world, he had been looking forward to improving his strength. After this period of hard work, he was not far from breaking through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. Now with the blood ginseng fruit, he directly broke through. Boom! Dongfang Yu followed closely behind and broke through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. In the past, his strength had always been slightly lower than Gong Xiaoqing's, but after meeting Hongzhuang, he began to put all his thoughts on cultivation. Perhaps he just wanted to close the distance between them. For the first time in his life, he liked a woman wholeheartedly, but he found that he was indeed unable to reach her. Even though he knew that it was impossible, he still wanted to improve himself. 2 people broke through to the 6th level of the Red Realm in a row, and the cultivators in Xianming City were shocked. What the hell was this? There were only 5 cultivators in the team of this small empire. Not long after returning to the room, 4 people broke through one after another. They had never encountered such a thing. My God, which empire's team is this? How did they break through at the same time? In my opinion, they must have obtained some kind of treasure. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to break through at the same time. I don't know what kind of treasure it is. These people are too lucky. In a short time, everyone had already confirmed their guess. Although they were very envious, from the situation, it was obvious that the other party had taken it. Even if they attacked now, the treasure would not be able to be taken back, so it was useless. At this moment, all the cultivators had completely given up their plans. Originally, they had planned to take advantage of the other party's serious injury to hit them when they were down. Now Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were obviously not easy to bully. Since it was not the best time, and the treasure had been taken by them, it was meaningless for them to attack again. Boom! Bai Junyu had broken through from the 5th level of the Red Realm to the 6th level of the Red Realm. This delightful breakthrough speed made him reveal a big smile. The effect of the blood ginseng fruit was really too good. His strength had already increased by 2 levels, but he still hadn't completely refined the energy. Boom! Xia Jiqing's speed was not slow at all. Her cultivation talent was not bad, coupled with her constant efforts during this period of time. A breakthrough was expected. Boom! Boom! Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu broke through once again. Both of their hearts were boiling. It was true that riches and honor came from danger. If they had obediently given the blood ginseng fruit to the cultivators of the Cosmos dynasty, they would not have made the breakthrough. This terrifying breakthrough speed attracted the attention of all the cultivators in Xianming City, because this speed was simply too shocking. Chapter 1285. What kind of treasure did this small dynasty's team get? The breakthrough speed is so heaven-defying, and the 4 of them broke through at the same time. It's really weird. This kind of breakthrough speed is really enviable. Everyone's eyes were red with envy. Normally, it would take a lot of time to raise one's cultivation level, but they could directly save so much time. How could they not be envious? What's more, in this small world, strength was the most important. Everyone was trying their best to improve their strength, but the other side improved so easily. It was really annoying. At this time, many cultivators also noticed the room that had been silent. There were a total of 5 cultivators in this dynasty, and 4 of them had broken through 2 levels in succession. However, this room had been silent, which was a bit strange. Many people remembered the Bailey Hongzhuang in this room. That peerless beauty that could topple a city was really unforgettable. There has been no movement in this room. It seems that the aptitude of this cultivator is very poor. How can everyone break through so much? It's already very good that this team can have such a big improvement. Everyone seemed to have found a breakthrough, and the dissatisfaction in their hearts was expressed through this breakthrough. In any case, at least there was one person who could make them find psychological balance. However, just as everyone was ridiculing him, a suction force that was even stronger than any of the previous suction forces emanated from the room. The spirit power in the surrounding air seemed to be boiling and rushed madly into the room that had been silent. Such an attractive force made everyone stunned. They suddenly looked at each other, and their faces became very interesting. This attractive force is stronger than the previous one. Is this woman also going to break through? Everyone looked at the room with astonishment. The smile on their faces had gradually disappeared and was replaced by a deep shock. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to refine the energy in her body. She also felt the aura of Xia Jiqing and the others breaking through. She couldn't help but feel happy for them. The 5 blood ginseng fruits had made a great contribution to their team. In one day, the strength of their team had improved a lot. The Orange Realm and the Red Realm were 2 different stages. The higher the cultivation, the more energy needed to break through. Therefore, her breakthrough speed was naturally not as fast as Xia Jiqing and the others. However, she had made a certain improvement when she was cultivating in the Tiangang sect. Now, with the power of the blood ginseng fruit, she could also go up a level. However, she always paid more attention to the stability of her foundation. It was precisely because of this that when her aura reached the critical point of a breakthrough, she did not rush to break through. Instead, she suppressed it slightly in order to stabilize her foundation. As the head of an aristocratic family in her previous life, she was very clear about the importance of having a solid foundation. Only with a solid foundation could one go further on the path of cultivation in the future. Boom! Bailey Hongzhuang finally broke through to the third level of the Orange Realm. Her aura was even more powerful than before. After feeling the strength of this aura, the cultivators who had been mocking Bailey Hongzhuang for not being able to break through shut their mouths at this moment. Chapter 1286. At this moment, all the cultivators in Xianming City were speechless. Although they did not know which dynasty Bailey Hongzhuang was from, it was undeniable that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had gone out. There would be cultivators breaking through in the city from time to time, but those were rare cases. It was the first time they had seen a team breaking through together, and not just by one rank. That night, many cultivators were curiously watching the movements of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They just wanted to know what kind of realm their strength could reach. Compared to the shock of the cultivators in Xianming City, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest did not know how much shock they had caused to others. They were still in seclusion, focusing all their attention on cultivation. The 2 consecutive battles had given them a deeper understanding of cultivation, and at the same time, they had a better understanding of their martial skills. Every battle was an extremely rich experience. As long as they could absorb this experience, it would be of great help to them. 3 days later, when Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, she felt refreshed. Her injuries had completely healed, and she was at her peak. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had exited her cultivation state, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately jumped to Bailey Hongzhuang's side, their faces filled with joy. Congratulations, Master, on breaking through. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a bright smile. The effect of the blood ginseng fruit is amazing. It's even better than the blood ginseng fruit in the outside world. Even she was extremely amazed by this. She was already at Orange Realm level 2. Even if the effect of the blood ginseng fruit was amazing, she could only break through to Orange Realm level 4 at most. However, now that she had broken through to Orange Realm level 5, such a breakthrough in strength was too shocking. The origin energy in this small world is twice as rich as the outside world. The blood ginseng fruit has always been growing here, so it absorbs more origin energy than the blood ginseng fruit in the outside world. Naturally, the effect is stronger. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately understood the crux of the matter. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This small world is indeed a good place. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at Bai Shi. Speaking of which, White Lion was the greatest contributor. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was looking at Bai Shi, Xiao He spoke up. Bai Shi reached a state of breakthrough after eating a few demon crystals. He is now in a deep sleep. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with a hint of understanding. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The last time Bai Shi had broken through, he had also fallen into a deep sleep. However, he did not know how long Bai Shi would be asleep for. Have Jiqing and the others come out? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. When she was in seclusion, she did not know what had happened outside. If Jiqing and the others came out, then they could continue on their journey. Now that they were much stronger than before, they would be able to hunt demon beasts more easily if they went to the forest again. Xiao Bai shook her head and said, "They haven't come out yet, so it should take them a little longer." I see. Speaking of which, her cultivation level was very high, so the speed at which she refined energy was relatively fast. In comparison, the speed of Xia Jiqing and the others was a little slower. Chapter 1287. When Bailey Hongzhuang placed the rations in front of Xiao He and Xiao Bai, she was surprised to find that Xiao He and Xiao Bai did not look happy at all. On the contrary, the 2 little fellows looked very disappointed. Bailey Hongzhuang's inky black phoenix eyes were filled with a trace of doubt. She was very surprised. Usually, these 2 little guys didn't know the taste of worry. What happened today? Xiao He, Xiao Bai, what happened to make you unhappy? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao He and Xiao Bai shook their heads in unison. In reality, they were very depressed. During the 3 days that their master had been in closed-door cultivation, they had also been cultivating. However, they had not been able to achieve any results. In the end, they could only helplessly conclude that their cultivation had not improved at all. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but frown when she saw Xiaohe and Xiaobai's expressions. She reached out her hand and patted the two little fellows' heads. Her voice also became gentler. "What happened? If you believe me, then tell me." As Xiaohe and Xiaobai's master, she did not even know about the two little fellows' worries. She was not a good master at all. Xiaohe and Xiaobai's faces were filled with anxiety when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. "Master, of course we believe you." Bailey Hongzhuang was their master. How could they keep secrets from their master? However, when they thought about how their cultivation had stagnated, and how they would not be able to help their master in the future, and might even become a burden to her, they could not accept it from the bottom of their hearts. If their cultivation remained stagnant, given the speed at which their master's power was increasing, it would not be long before they would become contract beasts that could only be used as ornaments. "Then tell me about your troubles." Bailey Hongzhuang placed Xiaohe and Xiaobai on her lap. Even though these two little fellows were usually very annoying, it was because of their existence that her life had always been so lively. After all, these two little fellows had transmigrated together with her. If it had not been for these two little fellows by her side, she might not even have understood the chaos ring's function. Xiaohe and Xiaobai were very touched when they sensed Bailey Hongzhuang's gentleness. Even though they found it hard to talk about this matter, they felt that there was nothing that they could not say to Bailey Hongzhuang. "Our cultivation has been stagnant." Little Black lowered his head. His round and adorable smiling face was now filled with deep dejection. The feeling of being unable to increase her cultivation, no matter how hard she tried. She had felt despair. "It's useless no matter how hard we try to cultivate." Xiaobai sighed as well. It was at its wit's end in this situation. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood. She had previously paid attention to Xiaohe and Xiaobai's cultivation. In the beginning, when Xiaohe and Xiaobai had been cultivating, their powers had been constantly increasing. However, recently, there had been no movement at all. "I remember that it had been effective in the past. When did your cultivation begin to stagnate?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Back in the Azure Water Academy, she had brought Xiaohe and Xiaobai to the cultivation pagoda to cultivate. At that time, their cultivation speed had not been slow at all. Chapter 1288. Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was filled with doubt. Her deep black eyes flashed with wisdom as she pondered. Bailey Hongzhuang kept thinking, there must be something wrong with this. Xiaohe and Xiaobai had been by her side all this while and nothing had happened. It shouldn't be caused by external forces. This was a little strange. "How are you cultivating now? The elemental energy in your body hasn't increased?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiaohe and Xiaobai nodded in unison. "No matter how we cultivate, our elemental energy hasn't increased at all." Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little helpless when she heard that. This feeling was actually the same as when Bailey Hongzhuang was a good-for-nothing in the past. No matter how they cultivated, there was no use. She just didn't know how this happened to Xiaohe and Xiaobai. "We haven't come into contact with anything special during this period. Logically speaking, this shouldn't be the case." Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. No matter how she thought about it, she couldn't find the reason. It was really strange. "Why don't you two cultivate for a while? I'll take a look at the situation." After thinking for a long time, Bailey Hongzhuang still couldn't come up with a solution. She could only think of this method to give it a try. Xiaohe and Xiaobai looked at each other. They also wanted to change this situation. Moreover, their master was a miracle doctor. If there was a problem in their bodies, they believed that their master would definitely diagnose it for them. Xiaohe and Xiaobai immediately started cultivating. Bailey Hongzhuang sat behind the two beasts and extended her mental strength. It split into two strands and entered Xiaohe and Xiaobai's bodies respectively. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang's inspection, she found that Xiaohe and Xiaobai's cultivation didn't have any problems. It couldn't be more normal. After exiting the cultivation state, Xiaohe and Xiaobai were dumbfounded. No matter how they cultivated previously, there wasn't any effect. How could it suddenly work now? How could this be? Our previous cultivation clearly had no effect at all. Xiao Hei's eyes were filled with astonishment. How did the situation suddenly change? Xiao Bai shook her head. I don't know. Could it be because Master checked it? The man and the two beasts looked at each other in confusion. Try again and see if you can succeed, Bailey Hongzhuang said. This was too strange. No matter what, as long as Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai could cultivate normally, it was a good thing. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai nodded like chicks pecking at rice. They couldn't wait to confirm it. As long as they could successfully cultivate it, their previous problems would no longer exist. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai entered the cultivation state again. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai. She sincerely hoped that Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai would be able to reduce their troubles. Not long after, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai opened their eyes again. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Master, we can cultivate successfully again. Xiao Hei's voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Previously, when they couldn't cultivate, they only felt that their entire life was dark. Fortunately, things had taken a turn for the better. Everything was back to normal. Bailey Hongzhuang's peerlessly beautiful face also revealed a joyful smile. Her gaze became even gentler. It's good as long as you can cultivate. Now can the two of you eat? Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Chapter 1289. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes lit up in an instant, and they immediately rushed over. In the past 2 days, they had been distressed by the problem of cultivation, and they were not even interested in eating. Now they could finally eat with peace of mind. Looking at the two beasts eating, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. In this state they were the real Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai. Seeing that Xia Jiqing and others would not be able to end their retreat for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's mind moved, and she entered the chaos ring. She had been quite busy these past few days, and the time she had spent on inscription techniques was also relatively less. However, she had never given up, and as long as she had time, she would come to train. When Bailey Hongzhuang entered the chaos ring, she suddenly found that the closed stone room had opened again. Looking at this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes could not help but fill with a hint of joy. Since the last time the stone room door about inscription opened, no other doors had opened. Now, it should be due to her breakthrough in strength that another stone room was opened. Her exquisite face was filled with an expectant smile, and she didn't know what kind of things were in the stone room this time. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai also entered the chaos ring after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's voice. Originally, they stayed in the chaos ring every day, but since entering the small world, they had been staying outside and had never gone in again. Another stone room door opened. Xiao Hei rubbed her hands, and her eyes were full of excitement. Everything in the chaos ring was a treasure, and they were really curious about what kind of treasure it would be this time. It must be a treasure, haha. Xiao Bai was also very excited. When they stayed in the chaos ring before, all the stone room doors here were closed, and they didn't know what was here. It wasn't until the owner arrived that the doors of the stone room opened one by one. So far, the things in each stone room were very precious treasures. It was because of this that they were looking forward to it. Master, let's go in and have a look. Xiao Hei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang excitedly. Every time the stone room door opened, she had a feeling of looking for treasures, and she couldn't wait. Looking at Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's excited appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang also felt funny. After experiencing cultivation, the two little fellows seemed to have become even livelier. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly opened the door of the stone room, but the scene inside was obviously different from what Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai had imagined. Because this was an extremely spacious stone room. The layout of the stone room's layout, it was very familiar. Bailey Hongzhuang looked around and found that this stone room was not the same as the first stone room. On a high platform in the middle of the room, a book of martial skills was placed quietly. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with suspicion. Even though the things inside were different from what they had imagined, they thought that it would not be a simple thing. Just like the demon summoning scripture in the first stone room, that was a forbidden technique. and an average cultivator would never be able to see it in their lifetime. However, I wonder what kind of martial skill it is this time. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly stepped forward and took the book of martial skills. Chapter 1290, Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with a thick color of astonishment. She didn't understand. The Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation was a very famous formation. But what kind of martial skill would be called the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation? Just by hearing the name, one could tell that this martial skill was not simple. Thinking about it, the things in the chaos ring were never simple. After carefully reading the contents of the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation, the confusion on Bailey Hongzhuang's face slowly turned into understanding. It turned out that Xiao He and Xiao Bai's abilities had been stagnant. It was not because something had happened to them, but because of the Chaos Ring's intention, not for anything else, but to make Xiao He and Xiao Bai stay at Orange Realm Level 5 with her. The cultivation method of the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation required them to stay at Orange Realm Level 5. The most unique thing was that it was a combination skill. By cultivating with Xiao He and Xiao Bai, she and her beasts would finally combine into one, unleashing an even stronger combat power. Xiao He and Xiao Bai would form the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation, while she would absorb the energy of the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. Thinking about it, the combination of 3 Orange Realm Level 5 beasts would increase their abilities by quite a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shone with indescribable excitement. She had heard of this combination skill before, but it had long disappeared from the Shengxian continent due to its difficulty. Not to mention the rarity of this combination skill. It was already very difficult for the cultivator and the contracted beast to reach 100% trust and compatibility. Moreover, it was not easy to make the beasts and the cultivator stay at the same level. Therefore, she had never seen a cultivator perform the combination skill. She did not expect to see the combination skill today. It was a pleasant surprise. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's explanation, Xiao He and Xiao Bai both let out a sigh of relief. They thought that something serious had happened, but it turned out to be because of this. They were relieved. In that case, we can practice the same martial skill as master. Xiao He's eyes shone brightly like little stars. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. We have to work hard to learn this Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. This is a killer move. If he encountered a situation where he was no match for his opponent, this Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation could be a martial technique that could turn the tide of the battle. Now that he had come to the small world, the surroundings could be said to be filled with danger. Danger could appear at any time. The Sky Universe dynasty was only a medium-sized dynasty, and they were already in such a difficult situation. What's more, they would encounter cultivators from large dynasties in the future, which would be even more dangerous. It was naturally best to take advantage of the current situation to increase his strength. Xiao Bai nodded repeatedly. We will definitely work hard to cultivate. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang sat on the bed and held the book while Xiao He and Xiao Bai sat on her shoulders. The three of them began to look at the book. While looking at the book, the three of them also began to try to cultivate. Time gradually passed. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao He, and Xiao Bai concentrated on cultivating the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. After understanding the reason behind it, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but feel that the combination skill was really magical. She had never seen such a magical method before, and her eyes lit up. Chapter 1291. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao He, and Xiao Bai had been concentrating on cultivating the Qian Kuan 8 Trigrams Formation. Because of the uniqueness of the body fusion technique, the way it operated was different from ordinary martial arts. Therefore, the speed of this cultivation was a bit slower than usual. Obviously, it was not something that could be cultivated in a short period of time. After 3 days, Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu exited from their cultivation state. The two walked outside the room to look around. After seeing that there was no movement in the other 3 rooms, they walked back into the room. It was taboo to be disturbed during a retreat. Therefore, they had to wait for everyone to finish their retreat. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was cultivating martial arts in the room, felt the movements of Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu and knew that the two had finished their retreat. However, she did not immediately go out. Because there was no use for the three of them to gather. They had to wait for Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu to finish their retreat. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were gnawing on dry food, while comprehending the uniqueness of the body fusion technique. They had to admit that this kind of body fusion technique was really complicated to cultivate. Even some meridians that were not used normally had to be circulated. It was just that these meridians had not been used for many years. There were many impurities in the meridians, and spirit energy could not pass through. Therefore, if they wanted to learn this body fusion technique, they had to first open up the meridians in their body before they could cultivate. Opening up the meridians was a very taxing and exhausting thing. Therefore, they had put all their attention on opening up the meridians these days. Bailey Hongzhuang also focused her spirit energy on opening up the meridians. These meridians were very small. If she wanted to open them up, not only would she need to consume a lot of spirit energy, she also had to control the flow of spirit energy. Otherwise, if there was too little spirit energy, the meridians would not be able to open up. If there was too much spirit energy, the meridians would likely be damaged or even broken. Speaking of which, this kind of feeling was very helpless. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not feel bored because of this. As long as it was a powerful martial arts technique, it would take a lot of time to cultivate. Thinking back to when she was cultivating the sacred azure flame palm, she also spent a lot of effort and needed constant practice to be able to use it successfully. Now, because of the experience of her previous life, she was able to master the sacred azure flame palm in a very short period of time. This was the resource that belonged to her. Not long after, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu had finished their retreat and stopped cultivating. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked out of the house. Chapter 1292. Although I have never seen the blood ginseng fruit, I have a certain understanding of its effect. I think this should be the influence of the richness of the small world, which is why the effect is so good. Gong Xiaoqing's cold and handsome face showed a wise look. The blood ginseng fruit in the outside world did not have such an effect. What cultivation level have you broken through now? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. With the blood ginseng fruit, her strength directly rose from the 2nd order of the Red Realm to the 5th order of the Red Realm. Gong Xiaoqing and the other's strength would have a great improvement. Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. I am now at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Feeling the power in her body was completely different from before. She only felt that she was much stronger than before. In just a few days, from the 4th order of the Red Realm to the 9th order of the Red Realm, this was a rocket-like improvement. Even if it happened to her, she still found it hard to believe, because the improvement was too amazing. Bai Junyu smiled and nodded. I am now at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Compared to their previous cultivation, their combat effectiveness had greatly improved. Even if they encountered a team like the Sky Empire again, they would not be afraid. Congratulations. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. The smiles on Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing's faces became more and more brilliant. Now they only felt that coming to the small world was the right choice. If they did not come to the small world, but cultivated in the outside world, they did not know how long it would take to rise to the 9th order of the Red Realm. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing's faces also showed joy. Now they were a team. The improvement of their teammates' strength was the improvement of their team. Dongfang, what are your cultivation levels now? Bai Junyu asked aloud. His and Xia Jiqing's cultivation levels were lower than Dongfang Yu's. Presumably, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing were now at the 1st order of the Orange Realm. Dongfang Yu smiled faintly. We are also at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Hearing this, Bai Junyu's face flashed with surprise. You are also at the 9th order of the Red Realm? Bailey Hongzhuang explained aloud. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing suffered serious internal injuries before, and part of the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was used to heal them. As soon as these words came out, Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing immediately understood. I see. Heavenly treasures were often able to heal injuries. If it weren't for the blood ginseng fruit, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing's injuries wouldn't have healed so quickly. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit has healed our injuries. Although we are now at level 9 of the Red Realm, we are not far from level 1 of the Orange Realm. With that, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and asked, Hongzhuang, what's your cultivation level now? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Orange level 5. Everyone nodded. The Orange and Red Realms were different levels. Orange Realms required a lot more energy to advance than Red Realms. Therefore, it was reasonable for Bailey Hongzhuang to level up to Orange level 5. However, no one knew that this was the result of Bailey Hongzhuang deliberately suppressing it. Previously, when she was in the Bloodground Abyss, her cultivation had risen very quickly. She needed some time to stabilize her foundation. Now that he had consumed the blood ginseng fruit, his improvement was even faster. Chapter 1293. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others come out, the cultivators of Xianming City felt very helpless. From the time when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the city, everyone thought they were weak, but now they were strong in everyone's eyes. It had only been a few days. In the past few days, the cultivators of Xianming City only felt that they had been greatly stimulated. They had been watching Bailey Hongzhuang and the others break through, and break through again, one after another. Since when did breaking through become such a simple thing? So simple that it was unbelievable. In just a few days, the cultivation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had completely improved by a level, which constantly stimulated their hearts. Now they only felt envious and jealous of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They only hated that they were not a member of their team and did not have the luck to obtain heaven and earth treasures. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang again after freshening up, they were no longer embarrassed like before. On the contrary, their outstanding appearance was now more energetic, and their spirit was completely different from before. I don't know which dynasty this group of guys came from. What kind of luck did they have to be able to suddenly improve their cultivation so much? I have never seen it before. It can only be said that they are lucky. When can I have such luck? This feeling is simply like a pie falling from the sky. Since we have all come out, why don't we set off? Xia Jiqing said excitedly. I can't wait to try my strength. Her strength had suddenly improved so much, she also needed to test it out. Looking at Xia Jiqing's excited appearance, everyone looked at each other and smiled. It had to be said that Xia Jiqing had a child's temperament, but it was precisely this that made people happy. Well, let's set off. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. They had also stayed in Xianming City for a while, and it was time to set off. Everyone packed up and immediately continued to walk towards the center of the small world. Xiao He and Xiao Bai sat on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulders. They were now free and unrestrained. The most troubling problem had been solved, and they could also practice martial arts with their master. They were very happy. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was not holding Baisher, Xia Jiqing could not help but have a look of doubt in her eyes. Hongzhuang had always been holding Baisher. For this reason, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were extremely unhappy. What was going on today? Hongzhuang, where did Baisher go? Why didn't I see him? Xia asked doubtfully. With Xia Jiqing's voice, Gong Xiaoqing and the others' eyes were all looking at Bailey Hongzhuang. Now they were used to having 3 beasts with them, as if they were a member of the team. Now that Baisher was not there, they always felt that something was wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Baisher is about to start breaking through. He is now sleeping, and it is estimated that he will not wake up in a short time. Xia Jiqing and the others suddenly smiled and said, this time the strength of our team has greatly increased. Not only did we break through, but Baisher is also breaking through. This trip to the small world is more and more exciting. Everyone moved forward with a smile, quickly walking into the forest, just to test the improvement of their strength. Chapter 1294. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others shuttled through the forest. Perhaps because of the excitement of the breakthrough, they were not as nervous as before in the face of the surprise attack of the monsters. On the contrary, they were eager to try. One by one, the wicked beasts fell under the swords of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. With the improvement of their strength, everyone found that their yuanqi, which would have disappeared in a short time, had increased a lot. Not only that, their control of martial arts had also begun to improve, and they could perform more smoothly. The improvement of strength is really different. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with a joyful smile. Compared to before, her speed of hunting monsters today was much faster. After a while, her strength had soared so much that she felt a little unaccustomed. Bai Junyu and the others looked at each other and smiled. For cultivators, improving their strength was the happiest thing. Hong Zhuang, if next time a cultivator asks us which dynasty we are from, how should we answer? Bai Junyu suddenly thought of this question, and immediately turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. In this small world, almost all the teams would mention the name of their dynasty, just like the last time the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty asked them. They were not from any dynasty, so it was better to unify their answers in the future. The Dark Phoenix eyes flashed with a touch of thought. If they said they were from the Tiangang sect, it would be difficult to convince other teams because they were really few in number. On the contrary, doing so might cause quite a bit of trouble. Last time, didn't the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty mistakenly think that we are from the Tiangang dynasty? I think this name is good, Xia Jiqing said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Why don't we say we are from the Tiangang dynasty? This name was very good. No matter how the other party understood it, there was no problem with their name. Gong Xiaoqing and the others looked at each other and immediately nodded. They also felt that this name was very good. Then it's settled, Gong Xiaoqing said. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked all the way. Suddenly, there was a movement on the left. Apparently, there were teams from other dynasties. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other four gripped their weapons tightly. In this small world, fighting was a common occurrence. The slightest wrong word could trigger a fight between the two teams. During this period of time, they had seen many such situations. With a glance, the team that had arrived was also from a medium-sized empire. However, they looked extremely unfamiliar. It seemed that they had never interacted with each other before. The other party obviously did not intend to be their enemy, so Bailey Hongzhuang and the others no longer paid attention to them and continued to walk forward. Right at this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice suddenly sounded out. Miss Bailey, I didn't expect to actually see you at the test competition. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but stop. Xia Jiqing and the others all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Did Hongzhuang know this cultivator? Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at the person who spoke in surprise. In her impression, she didn't know him. However, the other party had called out her name. Obviously, he knew her. However, no matter how Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it, she didn't remember that she had seen him before. Chapter 1295. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the 18-year-old man in front of her and asked doubtfully, Young lord, do we know each other? Without waiting for the man to speak, the woman beside him smiled and said, Miss Bailey, we are cultivators from the Snow Origin Dynasty's Yuan family. We saw you when you came to stay with the Yuan family, but it's normal that you don't remember us. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen came to the Yuan family, the patriarch treated them as distinguished guests. They went to see them out of curiosity, but Bailey Hongzhuang didn't pay attention to them. Therefore, they knew Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know them. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard that they were from the Snow Origin Dynasty, she understood a little. After learning that they were cultivators from the Yuan family, a smile blossomed on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. So it's cultivators from the Yuan family. I didn't expect to meet you here. What a coincidence. This one is Yuan Jixin. This is my sister Yuan Xiaoman. Yuan Jixin said with a smile. Although Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know them, they admired Bailey Hongzhuang very much. Previously, they learned from the patriarch that Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the Bloodground Abyss, which was an extremely amazing inheritance. Bailey Hongzhuang was young, but not only could she withstand the pressure of the Bloodground Abyss, but she could also obtain the inheritance. How amazing was this talent? The patriarch had already said that if they had the chance to see Miss Bailey in the future, they must treat her with respect and must not offend her. They thought that they would never see Bailey Hongzhuang again in their lives, but they didn't expect to meet her in this assessment. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, her eyes sweeping across the Snow Origin Dynasty's team. Obviously, only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were cultivators from the Yuan family. Nice to meet you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled brightly. These are my teammates Xia Jiqing, Bai Junyu, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing. Hearing this, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman also smiled with joy. Nice to meet you. When Gong Xiaoqing and the others learned that the other party was from the Snow Origin Dynasty, they already understood that the famous Bloodground Abyss was located near the Snow Origin Dynasty. These are our teammates Zhu Weiqing, Ren Wantong, Feng Mingzhi. Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman introduced their teammates. Their expressions seemed to show their closeness to Bailey Hongzhuang. Although they didn't know why Bailey Hongzhuang would appear in the team of a small empire, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength and potential were already very good. In any case, they were of her. However, the other cultivators in Yuan Hongzhuang, and think of the Yuan and Yuan, they only felt that Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were too exaggerated. The other party was just a cultivator from a small empire. But Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were actually trying to curry favor with him. This was a disgrace to their Snow Origin empire. In this small world, strength had always been respected. Only cultivators from small empires fawned over cultivators from medium empires. They had never seen cultivators from medium empires trying to close the distance between them. Therefore, when Yuan Jixin and Yi Zichen introduced them, they did not take it to heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman's friend, but not their friend, so they didn't need to care. Chapter 1296. Yuan Xiaoman's face was filled with a joyful smile. She had always had a good relationship with Yuan Liqing, so she had gained a better understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang from Yuan Liqing's words. Speaking of which, it was quite miraculous. Yuan Liqing had only met a friend by chance, but she had never thought that the other party would be the successor of the Bloodground Abyss. This kind of luck had always been praised in their Yuan family. If it had not been for the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching, the Yuan family's status in the Origin Martial City would not have reached its current level. All of this was because of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's appearance, which had helped them solve a big problem. Therefore, as a member of the Yuan family, she was filled with gratitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing Yuan Xiaoman mention Yuan Liqing, the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips widened. Speaking of which, she and Yuan Liqing had indeed hit it off at first sight. Thinking back to when she had left, Yuan Liqing was very reluctant to part with her. Is Liqing doing well now? Yuan Xiaoman nodded slightly. Sister Liqing is doing very well. I just hope to see you again one day. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to move forward. Along the way, Bailey Hongzhuang and Yuan Xiaoman chatted happily. In this small world, almost all the cultivators they had met were people they had never met before. It was rare to see friends they knew, so there was an indescribable sense of familiarity. Miss Bailey, we still have to continue hunting monsters, so we'll take our leave first. After walking for a while, Yuan Jixin slowly said. He felt very helpless in his heart. Originally, he could have talked more with Bailey Hongzhuang, but the other cultivators in the group were clearly not satisfied with this. Along the way, he felt very unwilling. If this continued, his other teammates would probably explode. Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously aware of this situation and immediately smiled. Okay, see you next time. Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman waved at Bailey Hongzhuang, then left with the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty. The Snow Origin Dynasty's cultivators didn't even bother to greet Bailey Hongzhuang. They turned around and quickly left, as if they couldn't bear to stay any longer. After the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty disappeared from her field of vision, Xia Jiqing exploded. What kind of attitude is this group of guys have? Their nostrils are in the sky. I feel disgusted just looking at them. They are a team from a middle-sized empire. They are naturally disdainful when they see us cultivators from a small empire. Gong Xiaoqing's expression was still cold. He was not very angry about this. After all the cultivators in the small world were like this, so there was nothing strange about it. I think only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman are good. If others don't want to talk to us, I don't want to talk to them either. Xia Jiqing's face was full of resentment. She hated the other party's face the most. It was really disgusting. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Xia Jiqing's shoulder and said with a smile, "We don't know the other cultivators at all. Why bother with them? They are just a group of insignificant strangers." Only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were their friends. As for the others, they could just treat them as if they didn't exist. It was not worth it to get angry over some unimportant cultivators. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing nodded slightly, and the original dissatisfaction faded a little. Chapter 1297. After Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman separated from Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, a trace of dissatisfaction appeared on their faces. "Zhu Weicheng, why did you treat them like that just now? That was too rude." Yuan Xiaoman had always had a straightforward temper. Even she could feel the disdain of Zhu Weicheng and the others, let alone Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had a good temper. Otherwise, they might have caused trouble. Zhu Weicheng was already very dissatisfied with Yuan Xiaoman and Yuan Jixin's attitude towards the cultivators from the Tianjing Empire. Now that Yuan Xiaoman dared to criticize him, he naturally would not back down. "I say, Yuan Xiaoman, aren't you a little too spineless? We are a team from a medium-sized empire. Don't you think it's too embarrassing to coax cultivators from a small empire?" Hearing Zhu Weicheng's words, Ren Wantong and the others nodded. "With our status, we don't need to be so polite to them." Yuan Xiaoman was even more furious. "What do you know? Bailey Hongzhuang is a very powerful cultivator. After so many years, how many cultivators had obtained the blood-ground abyss inheritance? For Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to obtain the inheritance, it could be seen how amazing her talent was. Such a cultivator would almost certainly become a powerhouse in the Shengxian continent in the future." Zhu Weicheng sneered. "Just a cultivator from a small empire. How amazing can her talent be? It's already good enough that she can protect herself from dying in this pocket world." In Zhu Weicheng's opinion, one's status determined one's future. In the history of the Shengxian continent, the majority of powerhouses came from extraordinary backgrounds. Only a small number of powerhouses came from remote places. He didn't believe that this Bailey Hongzhuang could be one of the few cultivators in the world. "Yuan Xiaoman, since we are in this pocket world, we represent the entire Snow Origin Empire. I think you should be more apprehensive about the Snow Origin Empire's reputation in the future," Ren Wantong said slowly. Hearing Ren Wantong's words, Yuan Xiaoman became even angrier. These guys actually thought that she was embarrassing the Snow Origin Empire by contacting Miss Bailey? These guys don't know anything at all. Just when Yuan Xiaoman was about to refute the crowd, Yuan Jixin stopped her. Yuan Jixin winked at Yuan Xiaoman, interrupting her next words. There weren't many cultivators who knew that Miss Bailey had obtained the inheritance of the blood-ground abyss. As Miss Bailey's friends, they naturally couldn't spread the news of Miss Bailey. It was fine if the others didn't believe him. They had been teammates for the past 2 years, but they couldn't be considered as close friends. In the future, when they left the small world, they would go their separate ways. There was no need to care too much about it. Noticing Yuan Jixin's gaze, Yuan Xiaoman suppressed her anger. She was so angry that she almost spilled the beans. Now that Yuan Jixin had stopped her, she realized that it was a good thing that she didn't spill the beans. Seeing that Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman didn't speak anymore, Ren Wantong and the others couldn't help but show a satisfied expression. Not far away, after a group of cultivators heard the conversation between the cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty, their expressions changed, and their eyes were immediately filled with a wisp of interest. Chapter 1298. It was obvious that the various forces had done a lot of preparation when they constructed the small worlds. This was how the assessment had been conducted for so many years, so the distance between the cities was considered. As long as they did not encounter any major incidents along the way, most cultivators would be able to reach the next city before nightfall. The number of demonic beasts in the small worlds was shocking. Even though the cultivators had been trying their best to hunt the demonic beasts, the number of demonic beasts seemed endless. Just like the great battle back then, it was too difficult to kill all the demonic beasts. This was probably the most powerful aspect of the demonic beasts. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest went out to hunt demonic beasts during the day and returned to the city at night. Their days were quite fulfilling. As their strength increased a little, some of the troublesome matters also decreased a little. Kind people were bullied, kind horses were ridden. The cultivators in the small worlds paid more attention to this point. As such, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were happy and relaxed. They hunted demonic beasts every day, and the speed at which their points increased was not bad. Through Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest's research, they realized that the empire's teams that they had encountered so far were from small and medium-sized empires. It was obvious that the empires of different levels would appear in different areas. Perhaps this was done on purpose by the various forces to be fair. After all, if the cultivators from small empires encountered cultivators from large empires at the beginning, there would be no other possibility other than failure. It was obvious that it was better for them to encounter each other later. Moreover, it was best for the various empires to meet each other. Although it was inevitable that all the empires would meet at the end, it still gave everyone the most time. A month later, on this day, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 also walked into the city before nightfall. Now they were already used to such a situation. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest entered the city, they realized that the situation in the city was different from usual. This was because there were very few cultivators in the city at first glance. This was extremely strange. During this period of time, every city that they had visited was filled with cultivators, and it was rare to see such an empty situation. There's a commotion in the central square of the city. Why don't you go and take a look? I heard that the cultivators from the Green Firmament Empire are teaching the cultivators from the Snow Origin Empire a lesson. I wonder what kind of feud there is between the two empires. It's such a big commotion. Since we have nothing to do here, we might as well go and take a look. Some of the surrounding cultivators' faces flashed with interest, and they immediately walked toward the central square of the city. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest felt that the situation in the city was very strange, so they paid more attention to the discussions of the few cultivators around them. Just by hearing a few key words, their expressions changed rapidly. The Green Firmament Empire, the Snow Origin Empire, Bailey Hongzhuang, and the others were no strangers to these two dynasties. For the Qing Shao dynasty, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others hated it to the bone. Chapter 1299. Qing Shao Dynasty. Xia Jiqing's face was full of surprise. Did I hear it wrong? Are they talking about the Qing Shao Dynasty? Bai Junyu turned his head to look at Xia Jiqing. His handsome face was also full of surprise and confusion. I also heard the Qing Shao Dynasty. I shouldn't have heard it wrong. Gong Xiaoqing's face had already sunk when he heard the words Qing Shao Dynasty. It's really a small world. I didn't expect to meet them here. Among all the dynasties, the Green Firmament Dynasty was the one they hated the most. It was without a doubt the number one. If they could not wait to destroy the entire Qing Shao Dynasty. Snow Origin Dynasty? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. How could the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty be involved with the Qing Shao Dynasty? The distance between the Snow Origin Dynasty and the Qing Shao Dynasty could be said to be extremely far. The hatred between the two should have been formed after coming to the small world. However, what was surprising was that they actually knew the teams of both dynasties, which was very interesting. The cultivators of the Qing Shao Dynasty really don't stop wherever they go. They are so arrogant, it's really disgusting. Xiao Hei's face was full of disgust. Thinking back, it hated the Qing Shao Dynasty to the core. It did not expect to meet them again. They want to teach the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty a lesson. Doesn't this mean that Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman are also there? Xiaobai frowned. It had a good feeling about Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. It would be a pity if they died in the hands of the annoying people of the Qing Shao Dynasty. Let's go and see. Bailey Hongzhuang's face sank. Although she had only met Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman once. Because of the existence of the Yuan family, they were friends. What's more, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman gave her a good feeling. Xia Jiqing and the others nodded. Since such a thing had happened, they naturally had to go and see. I'd like to see how arrogant the Qing Shao dynasty is, Xia Jiqing said angrily. When she thought of the ugly face of the Qing Shao dynasty, she hated that she could not kill this group of people. The three men, Dong Fengyu, Gong Xiaoqing, and Bai Junyu fell into silence. The events of the past were still vivid in their minds. That scene of helplessness and struggle was something they would never forget for the rest of their lives. He had thought that he would never meet him again in the future. Who would have thought that he would actually meet him in this small world? Perhaps this was fate. The heavens had given them a chance to take revenge. Central Square. There were 8 cultivators standing in the huge square. The other 8 cultivators were lying on the ground. Their bodies and faces were stained with blood. It was obvious that they were severely injured. Nangong Yujin, we have no grievances. Why do you humiliate us like this? Zhu Weiqing's face was filled with anger. He did not know what was going on. The cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty seemed to have identified them and attacked them without any reason. The Snow Origin dynasty was considered to be quite powerful among the middle-tier dynasties, but there was still a gap between them and the Green Firmament dynasty. They had no intention of offending the Qing Shao dynasty. After all, they would not offend a powerful team if they were not confident enough. Unfortunately, they had no idea what was going on. Chapter 1300. Listening to Nangong Yujin's answer, Zhu Weiqing almost spat out blood. What kind of strange reason was this? Even if he was arrogant, he had never been arrogant in front of the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty. What do you want? Zhu Weiqing's eyes were full of resentment. As an excellent cultivator of the Snow Origin dynasty, he had always been admired by everyone. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? The most abhorrent thing was that the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty had deliberately led them to the central Guangzhou. Almost all the cultivators in the city were attracted by such a situation, to see them make a fool of themselves. What kind of humiliation was this? Instead of being humiliated like this, he would rather be killed. That would be a clean death. Now that he felt the mocking eyes of the crowd, he just wanted to find a hole to hide in. Sooner or later, you will suffer retribution. Yuan Jixin's face was also full of anger. It was very normal for cultivators to fight, but the other party had poisoned them. If they had lost the battle, then they would have accepted it. After all, their skills were not as good as others. Now that they had been defeated in such a dirty way, even if he died, he would not be able to rest in peace. Nangong Yujin sneered, slowly walked in front of Yuan Jixin, and directly stepped on his abdomen. I heard that you know Bailey Hongzhuang. As soon as these words came out, Yuan Jixin's face could not help but change a little. He never thought that this matter would involve Bailey Hongzhuang. Yuan Jixin looked at Nangong Yujin in surprise. He did not know whether Nangong Yujin and Bailey Hongzhuang were enemies or friends. After Zhu Weiqing heard Nangong Yujin's words, he connected them to Nangong Yujin's arrogant words. Soon he figured out the key to this. Could it be that Nangong Yujin knew that he was very arrogant in front of Bailey Hongzhuang? With Bailey Hongzhuang's stunning appearance, Nangong Yujin was most likely an admirer of Bailey Hongzhuang. In this way, Zhu Weiqing had already figured out all the connections within a short period of time. At this moment, he was even more regretful. If he knew that Nangong Yujin was Bailey Hongzhuang's admirer, he would not have treated Bailey Hongzhuang that way. Nangong Yujin, we are friends with Bailey Hongzhuang. Do you think we are enemies? Zhu Weiqing quickly said. Listening to Zhu Weiqing's words, Yuan Jixin could not help but frown. He felt that the relationship between Nangong Yujin and Bailey Hongzhuang was not friendly. Otherwise, Nangong Yujin would not have stepped on him when he knew that he knew Bailey Hongzhuang. Then, Zhu Weiqing's words were no different from adding fuel to the fire. Nangong Yu, stomped on Zhu Weiqing's face. I just don't like Bailey Hongzhuang. I don't like Bailey Hongzhuang's friends. Nangong Yuer's eyes were vicious. The woman she hated the most in her life was undoubtedly Bailey Hongzhuang. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang, Mo Yunjue turned a blind eye to her. She only felt that since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, all her dignity was trampled on. Mo Yunjue knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had a sweetheart, but he still protected Bailey Hongzhuang. His disdain for her was tantamount to a sharp knife stabbing into her chest. Chapter 1301. Since the departure of Bailey Hongzhuang, Mo Yunjue had also left the Qing dynasty. In the following days, she never saw Mo Yunjue again. The man she had loved for a long time had disappeared from her sight. No matter how she searched, she could not find any news about Mo Yunjue. This made her disheartened, and at the same time, her hatred for Bailey Hongzhuang grew stronger. Not only that, but because of Bailey Hongzhuang, the Qing dynasty had also undergone tremendous changes. Nangong Aochen died, and his death caused a plague. Many members of the royal family were buried with him. She and Nangong Yujin were lucky. They had not had much interaction with Nangong Aochen, so they were spared. Not only that, but her father loved Nangong Aochen too much. When Nangong Aochen was sick, he often visited him. As a result, her father was also infected with the plague. Now that the Qing dynasty had changed, she and Nangong Yujin were not as good as before. And all of this was thanks to Bailey Hongzhuang. Long ago, she secretly vowed that if one day she could see Bailey Hongzhuang again, she would kill Bailey Hongzhuang with her own hands to vent the hatred in her heart. However, she also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was the wife of Bewitching, the young lord of Tiangang sect. They were in two completely different worlds, and the possibility of meeting again in the future was very small. However, she did not expect that they would see Bailey Hongzhuang in the small world. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to appear here as a cultivator from a small dynasty. When she learned the news, she and Nangong Yujin could not hide their excitement. It was really God who gave them such a chance for revenge. Nangong Yue was even more proud. She knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's identity was not worthy of Bewitching. Now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang had been abandoned by Bewitching. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang would not appear in the small world with such an identity. Listening to Nangong Yuer's words, Zhu Weiqing's face was pale. This plot was not right. Why was it completely different from what he had thought before? Yuan Xiaoman looked at Zhu Weiqing angrily. She really did not know what Zhu Weiqing was doing. I have already calculated that if there is no problem, Bailey Hongzhuang will come to Yiqin City today. Do you think that Bailey Hongzhuang will come to save you? Nangong Yujin looked at Yuan Jixin with a sneer. Although he did not know how this guy knew Bailey Hongzhuang, with Bailey Hongzhuang's character, he thought that she would not stay out of this matter. At this moment, the cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty came to a realization. It turned out that the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty were so eager to deal with them, because they were using them as bait to lure Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Zhu Weiqing and the others' faces became ugly in an instant, and they looked angrily at Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. If Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman did not know Bailey Hongzhuang, how could they have suffered such an unexpected disaster? Yuan Jixin, Yuan Xiaoman, it's all your fault, Ren Wantong said angrily. In the beginning, she did not have a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. She did not expect that now she would be implicated because of Bailey Hongzhuang. She was furious. We have nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. If you want to catch someone, just catch Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman, Feng Mingzhi said. Chapter 1302. As soon as Feng Mingzhi finished speaking, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman's expressions instantly turned ugly. They never thought that Feng Mingzhi would say such a thing. However, what happened next made Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman even more disheartened. That's right, we don't know Bailey Hongzhuang at all. Only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman know her. You just need to catch them, Ren Wantong hurriedly said. She had always been the pride of her family. When had she ever been wronged like this? Furthermore, she had been wronged because of a complete stranger. She did not want to die in Yiqin City like this. Seeing that Feng Mingzhi and Ren Wantong had expressed their opinions, Zhu Weiqing and the Snow Origin dynasty cultivators also expressed their opinions. In their opinion, this matter was originally caused by Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. Naturally, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman should be the ones to solve it. In just a short moment, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were betrayed by all their teammates. They simply could not believe that these were the companions whom they had spent the past 4 months with. In just a short moment, they had completely abandoned the two of them. All the affection they had for each other had disappeared without a trace. After feeling disheartened, Yuan Jixin could not help but smile self-deprecatingly. Come to think of it, this was what it meant to be heartless. Previously, they had overestimated their position in the team. In the face of disaster, they had fled separately. This saying was not wrong at all. The Snow Origin Dynasty cultivators actually betrayed their teammates just like that. This speed is really shocking. It's every man for himself. These guys' actions are very normal. I wonder who this Bailey Hongzhuang is. They've been talking about her for a long time, but I've never heard of her. The crowd discussed animatedly. All of this was exposed in front of everyone's eyes. The conversation between the two teams had not been hidden, and they had heard it clearly. So far, the name they had heard the most was Bailey Hongzhuang's name. They were really curious as to who this Bailey Hongzhuang was. Looking at the confident looks of the cultivators from the Green Firmament Dynasty, it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely come to Yechin City today. It's almost nighttime now. Logically speaking, most of the cultivator groups should have already entered the city. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have already arrived and are deliberately not showing up? Even if he doesn't show up, it's normal. The cultivators of the Green Firmament Dynasty are not easy to deal with. Since the Qing dynasty had put on such a big show, they must have made enough preparations. This was simply a feast at Hongmen. If Bailey Hongzhuang appears, I'm afraid she won't be able to return. With a sneer on his face, Nangong Yujin bent down. Yuan Jixin, do you think Bailey Hongzhuang will come? Originally, they could have directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's team, but they felt that doing so would be more innovative. With Bailey Hongzhuang's character, he was afraid that she would not be able to bear such a thing. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang comes here, he will definitely make Bailey Hongzhuang unable to live, unable to die even if she wanted to. Just kill me. Yuan Jixin looked at Nangong Yujin angrily. He did not know what kind of hatred there was between Nangong Yujin and Bailey Hongzhuang. However, in his opinion, Bailey Hongzhuang was a girl worthy of admiration. On the contrary, Nangong Yujin was an extremely despicable person. Chapter 1303. Listening to Yuan Jixin's words, Nangong Yujin sneered. You want to die? It's not that simple. Yuan Xiaoman looked angrily at the cultivators of the Green Firmament Dynasty. She really did not expect these guys to be so despicable. The Green Firmament Dynasty was also a medium-sized dynasty. It was really amazing that they were so despicable. Nangong Yujin, we have said that we have nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Please let us go. Zhu Weiqing could not help but say. Even if their team lost Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman, it did not matter. After all, there were still 6 people left in the team, which was a bit stronger than the team of a small dynasty. If he were to die here today, then there would be no hope left. Nangong Yujin looked at Zhu Weiqing with disgust. Do you think I'm a fool? Regardless of whether Zhu Weiqing knew Bailey Hongzhuang or not, it was undeniable that this guy's behavior was really disgusting. Even he had an impulse to kill this guy directly. As Nangong Yujin's voice fell, the faces of Zhu Weiqing and Ren Wantong also became ugly. Even if they were telling the truth, the other party would not believe them. This was really depressing. Damn it, Yuan Jixin, Yuan Xiaoman, it's all your fault. Ren Wantong was about to die from anger. She really didn't know how she had been dragged into this unexpected disaster. It clearly had nothing to do with her, but now she had to stay here and endure this humiliation. It was really too depressing. Zhu Weiqing and the others also looked at Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman angrily. If it were not for them inexplicably contacting Bailey Hongzhuang, how could this happen now? The most important thing was that Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator from a small dynasty. It was so late now, and Bailey Hongzhuang had not yet come. It was very likely that she did not dare to come. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang really came, as a cultivator from a small dynasty, It was impossible for her to be the opponent of Nangong Yujin and the others. It was tantamount to sending herself to death. If Bailey Hongzhuang was killed by the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty, there was a high chance that they would not be able to escape the same fate. After all, if they were in his shoes, they wouldn't have chosen to let him go either. Yuan Xiaoman, who was already angry to the extreme, after hearing the words of Ren Wantong and the others, her face turned red with anger. What qualifications do you bunch of bastards have to talk about us? It's fine even if my brother and I die here. You guys deserve to die here. As early as when Ren Wantong and the others proposed to leave her, in Yuan Jixin here, the affection between her and Ren Wantong and the others had completely dissipated. Enduring the humiliation from the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty was already unbearable. In the end, he was betrayed by his good friend. One could only imagine how depressing it was. Now that Yuan Xiaoman had already given up, since this group of people wanted to abandon her and flee for their lives, she might as well let them all die here. Hearing Yuan Xiaoman's words, Ren Wantong and the others were even more furious. Yuan Xiaoman, you've gone too far. If you want to die, die by yourself. We don't want to be buried with you. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived at the central square, they saw this scene. The cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty were tied up and lying on the ground, while the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty looked at them arrogantly. Chapter 1304. The cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty are too disloyal. At this critical moment, they even abandoned their companions. It's shameful. Xia Jiqing's face was full of incomprehensible light. Since they were companions, they would naturally follow them all the way. If they gave up in the face of a little danger, then in the end, they would be left alone. Alone in this small world, there was no way to survive except for death. After so long, the attitude of Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu has not changed at all. Their arrogance is disgusting. Dongfang Yu's eyes were filled with cold hatred. He was extremely disgusted with Nangong Yujin. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. Looking at the situation, this problem seems to be caused by me? She had just arrived at the central square and faintly heard her name, which was very strange. Thinking back, when she left the Qing Shao dynasty, she drugged Nangong Ouchen. She thought that the royal family of the Qing Shao dynasty should be in chaos. However, after she left, she never paid attention to the news of the royal family of the Qing Shao dynasty, so she was not very clear. If her judgment was correct, the royal family of the Qing Shao dynasty should not be very good. It was normal for Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer to hate her. However, if it was really because of her, how did Nangong Yujin know that she would arrive in Yeqin City today? Nangong Yujin, it has been so long, and Bailey Hongzhuang has not come yet. Are you sure she will come? At this time, a cold and hoarse voice sounded, and everyone noticed the black figure on the high platform of the central square. The man was wearing a black cloak, and his body was completely hidden in the cloak, so that people could not see his true appearance. However, just by listening to that hoarse voice, everyone felt uncomfortable. After the man spoke, Nangong Yujin quickly said, Bailey Hongzhuang should come. Compared to his previous arrogance, Nangong Yujin's attitude when talking to the man was obviously more restrained, and he even faintly tried to curry favor with him. Upon realizing this, the cultivators who were watching the battle were rather surprised as well. Previously, they focused all their attention on Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer, so they did not notice the existence of this man. Based on the current situation, it seemed that the cloaked man was the one with the most authority among the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty. Nangong Yuer hurriedly nodded. With Bailey Hongzhuang's personality, she would definitely come if something happened to her friend. She clearly remembered that it was Nangong Xiujia who humiliated Dongfang Yu. Bailey Hongzhuang also humiliated Nangong Xiujia in the same way. At that time in the Qing dynasty, Bailey Hongzhuang humiliated the royal family in public. This was a very serious matter. Logically speaking, ordinary cultivators would not do this, but Bailey Hongzhuang did it. From this point alone, it could be seen that Bailey Hongzhuang valued her friends. What's more, this time the cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty suffered because of Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang knew about this, she believed that Bailey Hongzhuang would not sit idly by. Hearing this, the cloaked man's voice was still low and cold. It better be so. Chapter 1305. In the crowd, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others saw the man hidden in the black cloak, and there was a trace of surprise on their faces. They had never seen this man before when they went to the Qing dynasty. With the arrogance of Lingying College, if this man was a cultivator of Lingying College, then it was impossible for him not to fight. As a result, there was only one conclusion left. This man was not a cultivator of Lingying College at all. However, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer were so cautious about this man, which was too strange. It was reasonable to say that Nangong Yujin's status in the Qing dynasty should be very high. After all, the crown prince Nangong Ouchen was dead, and the second prince Nangong Xiujia had died in the hands of others, so it was possible for Nangong Yujin to inherit the throne. If this was the case, then Nangong Yujin was the most powerful person in the Qing dynasty. But now it was a strange man, which was very strange. I don't know who this cloaked man is. Is he a hidden expert of the Qing dynasty? Gong Xiaoqing's handsome eyes flashed with doubts and thoughts. The identity of this man was really suspicious. No matter what his identity is, it can be seen from his dark clothes that he is not a good person. Dong Fengyu was too lazy to think about it. In his view, the cultivators of the Qing dynasty were all enemies. Master, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer are too despicable. They used such a method to force you to come out. Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not hold back after knowing the reason. These guys were really too hateful. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was also cold. She had only met Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman once. She had never thought that just because of this, she would drag Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman down with her, causing them to suffer such an unexpected calamity. Miss Bailey will not come. You should give up. Yuan Jixin's eyes flashed with anger, and his voice was firm and cold. Nangong Yujin looked at Yuan Jixin with displeasure, and then stepped on Yuan Jixin's body. What does it have to do with you whether I give up or not? I think you are tired of living. Do you want me to kill you now? Yuan Jixin looked at Nangong Yujin with disgust. Kill me if you have the ability. Hearing this, Nangong Yujin was even angrier. He immediately reached out and lifted Yuan Jixin up. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? After seeing this scene, Yuan Xiaoman's face showed a nervous expression. Nangong Yujin. Yuan Jixin was her cousin, but the two of them had been very close since they were young. When she thought of Nangong Yujin killing Yuan Jixin in front of her, she couldn't bear it. Looking at Yuan Xiaoman's angry look, Nangong Yujin's face showed a smug smile. He lifted Nangong Yujin off the ground with his right hand and looked at the surrounding cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang, if you don't come, this Yuan Jixin will die in my hands. Chapter 1306. Who is this Bailey Hongzhuang? How can she be so important to the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty? I don't think she's a simple character. Maybe today's situation will really happen. If Bailey Hongzhuang doesn't show up today, I'm afraid her reputation will be tarnished in the future. Everyone sighed. They didn't know who Bailey Hongzhuang was, but today, Nangong Yujin threatened Bailey Hongzhuang with his friend's life. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show up, she would be a coward. Bailey Hongzhuang, have you become a coward now? Nangong Yuer also looked at the cultivators around the square. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show up today, she would be even angrier. Today, she specially set up a trap for Bailey Hongzhuang. She wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everyone. Nangong Yujin, Nangong Yuer, you are now going further and further down the road of despicable. A cold and indifferent voice suddenly came from under the high platform, and then a white figure slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. When everyone saw the white figure, their faces were filled with a touch of amazement. The white gauze dress wrapped around the enchanting and perfect figure, and the slender waist was tied with a blue ribbon. The whole person was like a green lotus, giving people a sense of freshness and tranquility. Her long black hair was casually tied up, revealing a languid and charming charm. Just looking at her back, it was enough to make people's imagination run wild. When everyone saw the face of the woman in white, their amazement had turned into deep amazement. Her ivory white skin was crystal clear, a pair of gentle and moving willow leaf eyebrows, dark as ink, deep like a pool, and it was impossible to see what was flashing in the depths of her eyes. She had a delicate and small nose, perfectly curved lips, and all of her facial features were exquisite to the extreme, revealing a lively and otherworldly beauty. Wow, I feel like I'm looking at the ninth heaven fairy. This woman shouldn't be Bailey Hongzhuang, right? Nangong Yujin has been clamoring for her? It's really an eye-opener. Everyone sighed. Before, they had been guessing who this Bailey Hongzhuang was. Obviously, the Bailey Hongzhuang in front of them was completely different from what they imagined. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang again, Nangong Yuer's jealousy could not help but deepen. Almost every time she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she couldn't control the jealousy in her heart. After a year of not seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Nangong Yujiner, Bailey Hongzhuang, you dare to come. The moment Nangong Yujin saw Bailey Hongzhuang, his face became gloomy. Perhaps in the eyes of others, Bailey Hongzhuang was like a fairy, but in his eyes, she was an extremely hateful woman. Her delicate and beautiful face evoked a mocking sneer. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Nangong Yujin indifferently. You came to me with such great fanfare. How can I let you down? Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear at the moment. Their faces were full of amazement, and there was an unspeakable shock in their hearts. Bewitching and the other 5 were partners they had been with for 6 months. But at this critical moment, they did not hesitate to abandon Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. On the contrary, they and Bailey Hongzhuang just met once, but Bailey Hongzhuang came to save them. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.